In this video from We Are Racing.
Right, and it looks like YouTube immediately started hating me after that comment by remotely disconnecting my camera.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, a couple of small things that we would like to sort out. Small things, major things. The motor is still running pretty rough, so we need to sort that out. In the previous video we fiddled with lots of water bits, and I'll show you what we did with the water, because the water is done and dusted and connected up and all bled and air out of it. The major issues that we're struggling with at the moment: the alternator does not charge the battery, and I can't yet figure out why, so we're going to do some diagnosis today. And the fan doesn't come on, so you can short out the switch and I can hear all the relays clicking on, but the power doesn't go through to the fan to actually switch on the fan and make it run. So there's something amiss with that, and we'll sort of get behind that. And then of course, as I said, the motor running rough. Our objective is for this weekend to get the car on its wheels and drive it around the block. Now for that to happen, at a minimum, I have to clean up the rat's nest, which is the wiring. Well, not clean, but I'll have to start organizing it, and the alternator will have to charge and the fan will have to come on. So that's sort of minimum requirement, minimum achievement for us to be able to do that. Reminder, we are looking for our next YouTube project. Parameters are we need to buy, fix, modify a car for less than 100,000 Rand and be able to sell it on for a profit. Now that profit doesn't have to be vast. I must just not lose money on it. Having said that, and I'll probably get banned from YouTube for this, fucked if I care, I'm getting over the whole YouTube thing. Content providers or content creators outside of the USA literally has to work 3 times as hard for about 1/10 of the reward. And reward I'm talking about is view time and this so-called YouTube algorithm crap that promotes your video and puts it on lists for people to be able to view. It only favors creators inside the USA. So we're going to finish this project. We will start a next project because that's my hobby. It's got nothing to do with anything else. Whether that will be on YouTube remains to be seen. But in any case, I would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. This is me being negative, but as soon as I get stuck into this car again, I'll probably be able to get a bit more positive. This is a long weekend, so I've taken the day off to be able to work on the car and sort out these things. Let's see how far we get.
A few minutes later.
Right, and it looks like YouTube immediately started hating me after that comment by remotely disconnecting my camera. Yes, I know it's not possible, but my camera stopped working and we don't know how much footage we lost. Right, so in here, that's our alternator bracket, alternator mounting bracket, cut out of beautiful mild steel. Our friend Julio came through for us yet again. Thanks, Julio, you're a legend. And the alternator is now mounted up properly, but we're still battling with the issue that the battery is not charging. So yeah, we still struggling with that. No surprise if you look at the state of the wiring, and I'm actually thinking if I start clearing or cleaning up the wiring maybe we'll come across some stuff that's supposed to be connected that's causing this whole thing. I mentioned before our cooling system is all primed up, so this is our lacquer. That's a South African word that we give to anything that is good. This pipe is too long, it makes a little bend like this, so at some point, and this is now a pity because the damn thing is full of water and coolant, I'm going to have to cut quite a bit out of this thing. I'm thinking I'll probably have to chop it over here somewhere so that it fits nicely and that I can fit this thing up. We also went ahead and moved the pedal box back a little bit, and that's roughly how far we've gotten. Okay, but back onto the alternator issue. But before I start that, oh yes, my wife is a genius. I'm just putting it out there. I was chatting to her about how rough this car runs and how I can't get it to run nice and smooth, and she made a comment. I don't know if she was serious or making a joke. She says, cars that runs like that, it's timing. And I remembered that we never did base timing on this guy. So we've done the base timing. Let's get the camera up on the tripod and do a test start and see if she starts and runs easier with timing closer to what it's supposed to be.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
idling, I can probably check for charging. Well, I can tell you that she's not charging because it shows 11.7 volts over here. Shows 12.35 on the meter. On the battery. Water temperature is working.
Trying to fit the alternator. This is like a stand-up mount and it hits, so that you can see it's not going to serve any purpose for what we're trying to do. So I'm just going to chop this off with the Dremel. Chopped.
A lot of boring math later.
Right, update time. So many hours spent diagnosing basic problems. Turns out this relay was faulty, the one that we got with our kit. Doesn't really surprise me, I have to be honest. And that's the reason why our fan didn't come on. We chose to go with the thermostat thingy, this one here, that switches on at somewhere around 91 degrees and goes off at 83 or something along those lines. Can't exactly remember, but fan now comes on and top job. Then there was the issue with the alternator not charging the battery. Turns out, little rookie mistake, if you look at the, let me just grab it here. If you look at the wiring diagram for the alternator, which we posted the links before, they're still available. You've got your battery on the little thing. Oh, that was one of the other things with the fan. There was an extra point on the battery that I didn't know what it was for, and that connects to power the fan. Then the second one here is ignition, and that's the little bastard that needs to run to the rat's nest ignition over there, and when you switch the car on, that tells the alternator that it's supposed to start charging. Problem solved, and suddenly we've got charge. The one that we still need to connect is the little white wire over here, which is the battery indicator light. That's not wired up at the moment. We'll do that a little bit later. But problem solved. Two major problems solved. The fan now works and the alternator works.
A few minutes later.
I think it's time for our first drive. It's going to have to be a slow drive. Steering wheel is not tied on with the nut, and there's lots of loose stuff over here. It's going to be a very slow drive. Maybe we pop the fuse. Nice. This is another top tip. Buy 1,000,000 of these 40 amp fuses. Yep, 40 amp fuse, gone. Something wrong with the starter, because the moment I press the starter button, the fuse pops. More troubleshooting. Okay, nobody knows why, but it's fixed now. Fan is on. This is the way.
Later.
All right. Let's do a few updates. Roll cage fitted. This was bloody difficult. These holes don't line up. You can imagine a thick piece of tubing like this has zero give in it. And once you get these oaks lined up, there's no play for those oaks. So then you get those oaks and these oaks lined up, and they don't line up. So it's this constant balance between, so far so that we actually cross threaded that hole and had to re-tap it to be able to get it right. But it's on here and it's never coming off again, ever. The good people at Caterham Cave commented on the way we fitted the flange on the diff. We're happy to report, as you may see soon, we've taken the car for a drive and the diff is perfect. There's no clanking noises or anything like that. But thank you for your comment. I'm pretty sure it's going to help someone else who builds a car like this. Moving to the inside over here, Rhino Powell. Those are the little bits that we had to cut out of the seats, and as you can see, it actually looks quite nice. And then of course on the lap portion there also, we cut them quite a bit smaller. We made them just big enough for the 4-point harness to actually get through here. I don't have all the regulations, but if you see the mounting point over there is sort of in line with the cutout in the seat, so this is sort of as they should be, so that is quite nice. Rev counter is in there and working. It is too slow for our motor. This is a bit funny. So when we rev the motor, the rev counter trails by quite a bit. Water system complete, plumbed in. This little pipe's made shorter so that this guy is completely screwed down now. Water system in and working properly. The problem that we experienced with the fan turned out to be the relay in the front over there. Replaced the relay, problem solved. As you can see, we started assembling the front end over here, drilled out the holes for the indicators, and the indicators are now mounted for permanent and in there. Oh, also drilled out an extra little hole at the back here for the exhaust. It didn't line up with, no matter what we did, we couldn't get it to line up. So that's roughly where we're at. So to give you an idea, we started there and sorted out absolutely everything to about here. And then we started there and we sorted out everything to about here. And the only thing that's left now is that. So some of the things that we're going to sort out today: mount the battery for permanent. And those of you with a keen eye will have noticed that this is a different type of battery. It is about this much shorter than the Toyota battery that we had here. We found that when we mount the Toyota battery this way around, the poles actually touched the bonnet when it was fitted over here, unless you turn the battery around and stick it right up to the firewall. So we had this extra battery. It's not costing me anything, and it just fits better. So we're going to use that for the moment. Fortunately, this car does not use a hell of a lot of power. It's so easy to turn over this little motor, and that's really all we have, is to turn over the motor and maybe some lights. So that should be fairly okay in terms of using this battery. And I think that's roughly it that we have to report. Now this is an interesting question because I don't know the sequence in which I'm going to edit this video. But at this point you may have seen us drive the car around the block, which was the objective for this video, was to take the car around the block. So we've been around the block, very successfully tested. The fan comes on, switches off, so the cooling system works properly. Oh, hang on, one small little thing. We fitted those guys. How nice is that? And then of course today one of the things that we're going to have to do, you know, one of those things that we've sort of been dreading. We need to cut a bit out of that for this to fit these oaks. And that's a pretty serious commitment. So we're going to do that today also. Best we get on with the wiring then. Thanks to Philip, Greg and Adrian for the help on the basic setup of wheel alignment, toe and camber and that sort of stuff. She runs a crap load more straight now that we did that. And for those of you who want to know, the basic setup, which apparently is not so difficult to do with fish line and some what do you call these things, spirit levels and so forth. But the basic setup is you obviously want things fairly straight at the back and at the front. You're looking for a camber of 0.5 to 1 degrees negative camber, and the alignment 1.5 millimeters of toe per side for a total of 3 millimeters overall. It doesn't say if it's toe in or toe out, but my logic says to me toe in. Yeah, toe in as a basic start. And that's roughly what we went with here, just to get the car driving a little bit more straight. What we want to still do tonight is carry on with wiring, of which we've got very little left to do. Maybe even put the windscreen on here, maybe. Things that don't work at the moment. Things that don't work at the moment is our back lights when the normal front lights come on. They don't work. And the brake lights. So when you push the brake pedal, the brake lights don't come on. I suspect it's because I haven't wired them. Okay, I know I haven't wired them, so I need to do that. And then, oh yes, reverse light. We ain't got no reverse light. And that's because we ain't got no wiring from the gearbox coming up the middle over there. I need to figure out where that wiring goes, if there's even a sensor, and if there is a sensor, where it needs to go. So that's fairly important. I'm going to go print some papers, and then I think I might even start with the windscreen. Sounds like a great idea. Start with the windscreen and then move on to the wiring for the backlights here. At this stage, which is Monday night, Francois, whose car this is, who is also our sponsor, has no idea that I've been driving this car since Saturday. We've done just over 30 kilometers around the neighborhood here, very illegally so, but fortunately this is Texas, and we live just outside of Texas where there are no traffic laws. No, we don't live. We live in Centurion, but when we drive the car on a road, we take it to an abandoned road just outside of Texas so that we don't break the law, because we don't break the law by much. Let me go print some stuff.
Always remember that life is too short to drive boring cars.